All right then. So another day, another shoe of baccarat. There's a surprise. Yeah, it's kind of funny actually. I'm now um, one shoe away from the 100. So in the new kind of sort of super transparent, easily verifiable, bloody 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 um, uh, uh, Excel summary format. Boy, that took a bit of getting out, didn't it? Um, but anyway, onward and hopefully upward. Let's see what happens. 51. 2, 3. Yeah, this is the only time, by the way, when the bet is increased by more than double. Going from it's a 100 and then it goes because it's 150 lost, then it goes 2, 3. There it is. Minimum. Double for the loss. 1, 2. I'll keep this up, shoe. This is perfect. +1. Double for the tie. 1, 2. Good enough. Back to the minimum. +1. 51. 2, 3. 5, 6. 6. Just made it. A squeaker is perfectly acceptable as long as it's not against us. +1. +1. Double for the tie. Down to the plus max. Do it again. All right, next loss, we fall back to the minimum. Well, that wasn't supposed to be right away, damn it. All right. Double for the tie. 51. 2, 3. Definitely a pattern here, isn't there? Well, that's what we're about, of course. Patterns. Double for the loss. Back to the minimum. +1. 51. 2, 3. Have we been there before? I think we have. Look at that. Magic. Double for the loss. 1, 2. 3, 4. Try again. 7, 8. Oh my goodness. And look at this. We're getting into the danger zone. 15, 8. Over to the bank. And we'll run away from this if this fails. And it failed. Okay, so we're on 3, 2 in thousands on player when we get into the next shoe. I've done some rounding up there, and of course I never open a new shoe with a bet on banker. I avoid banker as much as I can, in spite of all the nonsense spewed by the likes of Vegas Matt about banker being the only bet. 3, 2 on player. Boy, we're climbing up there. Now it has to be 3, 4 after the tie. Let's just go back over that particular rule. You double after a tie as long as the bet is 100 or less. More than 100 you don't, unless you can turn a mid-recovery bet, which is 3-2. In other words, when you win, it doesn't turn you around. You can turn it into a turnaround bet by doubling. Then it becomes 3-4, which is a turnaround bet. So, player! No. 7-8. Are we going to blackjack this time? Oh dear. 15, 60. Oh dear. All right, 31, 35, except I'm gonna escape this one. Because I don't like it. Remember, you can gag for any reason at all. Gag being get up and go. You can do that anytime. No suggestion that it will make things better. No suggestion that it'll make things worse. On balance, it's likely to be about 50-50. But it just makes you feel better. It gives you a breather. And now we're on, what's that, 15, 16, 31, 35, I think I said, didn't I? So the next bet is on player. Damn it, it's a biggie too, isn't it? We're going to have to go to blackjack because the next bet, if we lose this, the next bet will be above the 31, 35. And there's no reason to assume we're going to win it, because every bet faces a negative expectation, but we just want to have the money out if we get there. Oh, and look at that. Bingo, bango. All right, so that was 66 laid out to ransom, rescue, retain, whatever R word you want to use, a session balance of 6,000. So that's about a 9% payback in 7 minutes or less. Actually, quite a lot less. So, back to the min just to see how things go from here. All right, so another win. 51. Repeat it. Double it for the tie. 51, 52, 3, 4. Damn it, we're on 7-8 again. Not going with us all of a sudden, is it? 15-8 over to the bank. You'll get shoes like this sometimes, and you just have to keep moving. 15-8 on the banker. 23, so that's I'll make the 2.5, 3 bet on the bank, and then I'll run away again. Bugger! Bloody ties. Okay, so that's going to be 6-7 on player when we come back, throwing another one away now. I'm certainly gagging a lot more than I used to, simply because it's a very useful kind of way to just, slow things down a bit. But this has been a bumpy ride today, no doubt. All right, so we're in thousands and we're on player because I never start with bankers. 6-7. We need a player win, really. Oh, and there it is. Good as gold. All right, so we're less than 10 minutes in. We've got a session balance of 8,000. And what you always have to consider is, well, okay, so how much action have you seen? So that's the sum total of all bets, won or lost, right? How much action have you seen? How much is your win? How does the win look as a percentage of your action? If you're running at 10% or thereabouts, then you're doing bloody well. I promise you. especially when you're dealing with a negative AV. And just to recap, actual value is achieved by simply taking the number of wins, deducting the number of losses, and dividing the product by the total number of bets, including ties. All right, so let's say that you've got two more losses than wins, and you've had 100 bets. Minus 2 over 100 is minus 2%. That is the AV, the actual value for the data set that you are examining, okay, or that you're in the middle of, if you like. Either way, that's how you get the AV. And then the indicated value, which is something that I talk about all the time. You take the AV minus 2%, you take your total action, let's say it's 10,000. No, let's say it's 100,000, okay? So minus 2 times 100,000, minus 2% times 100,000 means minus 2,000. That's the indicated result, but you won't have that because you're pattern betting, progressive betting with a kind of a break on it. You know. So you will do better than that. Anyway, double for the loss. 1-2. Damn it! It's bloody shit today, isn't it? 3-4. 7-8. Christ on a bicycle. 15-8, and again, oh no, we're not quite there. 15-8 on the bank. All right, now 7-9 for the commish. There it is. Okay, now we're on the banker. Yuck. Repeat. 1, 2, 3. That's good. Back to the min. Always bump up the bet, the turnaround bet on the banker, so that you've got commission covered. That's the most important thing to remember. 21.9. Repeat. Back to the min. +1. What the hell's that? Oh, okay. All right, that's good. Repeat. And we're out. We've got to 22 here. We're at 13 minutes. We've made 8,889, most of which came from this last shoe. But that's the way it works. But what we're going to find out when I tack on the Excel summary is exactly what the win percentage is, because that's what matters. And you watch these guys, the guy who drives me maddest is John Sirasani, because not just because he's a crap blackjack player, but because he makes a big noise about how he's the greatest on the planet and, sort of nobody plays like him and he's a lifetime winner at every casino he's ever played. All sorts of nonsense like that, which I think makes him look an absolute twerp. But from the way he behaves and the way he talks in his videos, it would seem that he's completely immune to any perception that he's a twit. He's kind of like the current president of the United States, who has the thickest skin in the whole world on the one hand, when he can tell lies that are obvious lies the moment they're out of his mouth. He thinks that somehow he's immune to fact checks, but on the other hand, he's super sensitive, So it's just so weird. It is very interesting for people living outside the United States, and I did live in the United States for nearly 40 years, so I know what I'm talking about. But it's very interesting for people in Europe, for instance, and I'm sure it applies in civilization, the whole world around, globally, to look at what's going on in the States and think, WTF? That's the natural kind of response. But anyway, let's save this one. And that was an interesting ride just now. Very interesting. So we've got what, four shoes here, have we, or three? Four shoes, yeah. Two shit shoes, or shit shows, if you like, um, and finally one that actually worked for us. So I'm just going to tidy this up here. All right then. So what we have here is another one of those nasties, but it is the first of four gags today. So bloody hell, hard work. What we're looking at is a house edge against us, -5 over 31, which is -16%. Overall, we lost 875, total action 6,225. So pretty much in line with the AV, we lost 14% instead of 16%. It's minus minus either way. Winnings of 2,675, 16 bets, average win 167. 3,550 lost, 21 losers, average loss 169, average win value over average loss value 99%, aka no bloody good. So, on we go. What a bugger, eh? All right, I'll do my numbers and get back to you. Well, as shoes go, we could describe this as the nastiest we've seen in a while, but I didn't let it run for long, let's face it. I just felt uncomfortable, and I was quite wrong, because as you can see from the grey ghost uh, um, uh, graphics here, there were a whole ton of turnaround opportunities that came along the way. But that's not the point, because I've never suggested that when you get up and go, gag, you're going to automatically jump from the frying pan into the fire, into not into the fire, into the safe zone. You could just as often jump into the fire, and that's what happened with the last gag. Obviously, we gagged from the first shoe, number 2004, and fell into this one, and it just didn't feel right. And you don't have to have certainty at any point with this strategy. You have to use common sense. You have to have a ton of money behind you. You have to have confidence, belief, whatever you want to call it. And you've got to be consistent, alert, bright, and sober. All things that most gamblers don't qualify for. Then they don't have enough money behind them. They think it's exciting. They think it's entertaining. They think it's just as one guy said, putting out a whole load of money and knowing I'm probably going to lose it really gives me a hard on. I mean, come on, weird people. And that's never been the way that I've approached these games. I've always had this urge to sort of try and simplify things so that I don't have to make a lot of stressful decisions. I don't have to, sort of like run the risk of zagging when the shoe zigs and zigging when it zags and all that sort of stuff. I just want to play consistently, sensibly, logically, mathematically, not mythematically, numerically, logically, tactically, all of those things. And I've been working on that for as long as I can remember, going all the way back to my school days. I mean, I used to think when I played pontoon, which was, the sort of the anglicization of the French game 21, which is what we now call blackjack, for reasons I don't quite understand, because there are, after all, there's two red jacks, so whatever. But no, I mean, I've just always wanted to try and rationalize the whole process of attacking games of negative expectation. That's all I'm saying. So this one was a bitch. No wins at all. 3 losses, 28k totally. Average loss 9,333. The EV against us, sorry, the AV minus 3 over 4, so that's minus 75%, and we managed to turn that into minus 100%. Good for us. Isn't that wonderful? Moving on, hopping over here, and well, let's have a look at GAG 3, which tells a much cheerier story. And I'll be back in a mo. Okay, so this is the kind of result, obviously, that we hope for. And it's the old story, you have to lose to win. So as we keep losing, the bets keep rising. I keep rounding up into, from 25s to hundreds to 500s to thousands to blah, 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 whatever. And and then rounding them up in 5,000s and all the rest of it, which is how come we finally get to move ahead. Here we had minus 3 over 11 against us, so that the house advantage was 27%, minus 27%. We won 29,875. Total action was 40,375. So we won 74% of our action, which is pretty bloody crazy. But it happens. It happens again and again and again and again and again. Total wins 35,125 divided by 3. Average winning bet 11,708. How dumb is that? Losses minus 5,250. 6 losses. Average loss 875. And I forgot to ask my personal assistant what that is in win over loss, average win over average loss percentage. So let's do it now. Alexa, 11,708 divided by 875.
11,708 divided by 875 is approximately 13.3806.
All right, so that's 1,338%, which is, you can look at it and you can say, well, that's absolutely ridiculous. That's just silly. But it's not. It's how it has to be. It's how it must be. And if you don't bet this way, and if on the other hand you swallow all the crap about martingales, any progressive betting method is a martingale, absolute bullshit. This is not a martingale. Yes, we double, but we don't do it forever, and we hop from one to the other. We don't sort of do something stupid like Vegas Matinee's crew, sit on banker all the time and watch as there are 7-player wins in a row. I mean, that is just bonkers. It's what the casinos would love everybody to do. And I did play years ago at the same table as a woman who, I was having a wonderful time. Me and the dealer were having a wonderful time because we were making so much money on player. Bang, 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 bang. And Steve the dealer and I were doing great because I was putting out a quarter for him every time, $25, I mean, obviously. And so every round at player one, boom, 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 boom. And he made, I don't know, 500 or 600, I suppose, by the end. And the run just went on forever. It was like, 10, 11, something like that. And finally, about sort of like 8 wins in, I said to the woman opposite, who was not betting at all, I said, well, what are you doing? Why, you should be riding this with us. And she just said, oh, no. My system says I can only bet on banker, and not if there's a run against it. So you can't bet on player in response to a player run. It was just one of those weird things. And so obviously all you can say is, oh, okay, I understand. Word. But anyway, that's that story. And let's go and have a look at the last one, the turnaround one. And I'll be back in a sec. All right then, so the usual happy ending. Hard won, but we got there. That's the most important thing. Getting there is what matters. What have we got? 2007 is the shoe number. My golly, I finally crashed the 2000 mark. We had a slight player edge, +1 over 22 total bets. That's plus 4.6%. We won 7,889. Total action, 11,289. So we won 70% of our overall total action. Slightly less than that because I haven't factored in the commission, but that comes later with the Excel summary. We had 11 wins, 9,589, so that's an average win of 872. And we had 1,700 in losses, 10 of those, average loss 170, average win value over average loss value 513%. That's good. I promise you, that is good. So let's just go down to here, pull this up so we've got the front page, and we've had some bumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 red entries, 21 plus entries. So, well, they're red, so they're minus, and the other ones are sort of they're white, so they're whatever. But what we're showing here is a damn good profit from 1107 until 1111. So I mean, we're looking at 5 days max, aren't we? 5 days, and I'm not sure what the total is, but we'll find out eventually. But anyway, thanks for hanging in there, and I'll tack on the Excel summary, and we're now well over 100 shoes. It's 103, I think. So I'll be putting it up really soon. Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. All right then. So mercifully, I've reached my goal of 100 plus shoes of baccarat without having to flee to higher roller blackjack. The max bet on baccarat win pro being 50,000, and the max on the Wizards blackjack sim is 100,000. So in the last 103 shoes, I haven't had to do that, at least. But for the moment, let's just deal with the last 4 shoes. And oops. All right. Here we go. So GAG 1. You've had all this information already, but what we're looking at here is a negative AV, 12.2%, maintained because the strategy did not have a chance to work. I gagged after 35, I guess 35. No, whatever. 41 bets. Nasty business. Minus 14.1%. Moving on to the next one, couldn't win at all there, and I just fled that one. It turned out from the Grey Ghost things that the BW Pro, Baccarat Win Pro platform puts up for you that shows you what would have happened if you'd stayed, kind of thing. That one demonstrated that there were lots of good things coming, so lots of plus streaks that would have sorted me out. But you never have any. Obviously, you've got no advanced knowledge. You don't have crystal balls, so you just assume that your chances are about even that things will get better, and unfortunately about even that things will get worse when you gag. But that's how it is. So here we had GAG 1, went to the next shoe, that was worse. GAG 2, went to the third shoe, and that turned out to be GAG 3, but not before it had won some decent money. So didn't quite make up for the losses prior. We only had 1,000 profit there, and so finally we come to the denouement, the finale, the last shoe, 11 wins, 10 losses, 1 tie, and we end up with a positive AV of 4.5%, because it's just one more win than losses, and we made 70% on our win as a percentage of the total action. All of this stuff is laid out in this summary, which is the whole point of it, because I want it to be as transparent as possible, knowing full well that the vast majority of gamblers don't give a tinker's toss about numbers, probabilities, possibilities, potential, logic, numeracy, None of those things matter to the average gambler. They are in it to lose it, because that's the attitude of most gamblers. They expect to lose as they go in. Some of them lose and then lie about it afterwards. Most of them lose and tell the truth, but with their tail between their legs, and they have to go and tell somebody who's like a dependent or whatever, well, I lost a bit at the track, or of course they don't say anything at all. You've got the sort of the flash gamblers like Dana White and Steve Will Do It and Crazy Cody Burn Money, who pretend to be winners, and common sense and numeracy deny them that privilege. And of course, let's not forget King John Sirasani, the greatest of all time in his own mind, who says that he's a lifetime winner at every casino that he's ever played in, which of course is nonsense. We don't need to require proof from him, because we know that he couldn't possibly offer it. What did he, in one video, he said something about how anybody who knows anybody in the casino business can ask anybody, and they'll tell you that I'm a winner all the way, and at Wynn and at this and at Venetian and at Harrah's and at Rio and at on and on and on. And of course he knows he's safe there, because there's nobody working in a casino who has anything to do with keeping records and watching the cash who's ever going to say anything to anybody. I mean, I could go into Harrah's or whatever and talk to the chief cashier and say, okay, I have permission from John Sirasani to ask this question. How much has he won? How much is he ahead at Harrah's? All the Harrah's profits over the properties over the last year, and they'll say, "Sorry, can't tell you that." And yeah, but I have John's permission. I mean, do you want to call him and he'll confirm? Doesn't matter, because if they start disclosing information like that, then their integrity is called into question. Now, Sirasani almost certainly knows this. So he knows that even if somebody were to start to probe his ridiculous nonsense about being a lifetime winner at every casino that he's ever bet in, they're not going to get the answers, because that's not how the business works. Anyway, enough of Sirasani. We're now at 103 shoes. We've got an overall house edge, which is about double what it should be, but that's all right. It's not, at least it's not stratospheric. It's the expected negative expectation for baccarat is somewhere between 1.2 and 1.3%. This is 2.4%, which is fine. If you take that minus 2.4% and multiply it by the total action that pattern betting generated, 2.25 million, you get a loss of 53,000 plus, instead of which we had the bad manners to win nearly 260,000, 258,000 anyway. And if you exclude ties, which you shouldn't do, basically, because there's money on the table even when there's a tie, obviously, but just wins over losses, minus 2.62%. So we've come out instead with a plus 11.4%, which is bloody good. I don't care what any of the trolls say, any of the mathematicians, any of the liars who are in business protecting the casino's myth that all their games are completely, utterly unbeatable, so just have fun losing, which is the message that they want to get across all the time. Going up to the very top, what have we got? We've got, as I told you, 103 shoes, a little bit more information up here, not too much, but 59 negative actual values in the 103 shoes, so a little over half. Actual negative shoe results were half that, so 30 out of 59 actually showed a loss to pattern betting. But then we had 73 winning shoes out of the 103. And that was, let's see, we've now got a winning shoe average of plus 5,400, average loss minus 4,600. Getting a little close there, 118%. But the important thing is that the number of positive shoes versus the number of negative shoes is 2.5 times, so there are a lot more positive shoes than the negative ones, and that's likely to continue. things always get a little bit tougher the bigger the sample, and that makes perfect sense. It does not mean that there's going to be a certain loss after whatever, maybe 200, 500, 1,000, a million shoes or whatever. What it does mean is that you will find that you have to really face some crap that spoils the pretty picture somewhat. It doesn't exactly tarnish it, but it just demonstrates that it's not always easy to win, because you are in a situation where you are certain over time to lose more bets than you win. And here we are, 1972 wins, 2078 losses, proves the point. 438 ties, which I assume will be running at about 9%. I should add that, actually, so I'm going to stop for a sec. Yeah, okay, so as I was saying, ties 9.8%, so in this particular data set, it's nearly 10%. And of course, it makes a mockery of the ridiculous payout that you get on ties. You're looking at somewhere around sort of like 9.5 to 11% probability, and you're being paid 8-1. So that's a rip-off right there. I mean, it's, ties are not even worth thinking about. But the gamblers, the show-offs, the performers like Vegas Matt and Co., they will back ties because it's part of the whole image that they're trying to put across, that you do the exciting stuff. It's like ridiculous that Vegas Matt, for instance, will promote, plug, help the casinos sell these awful, awful corruptions of blackjack, double down madness, free bet blackjack, and so on, where a dealer 22 is a push. Absolutely outrageous. He has saved tens of thousands, well over $100,000 by being paid out when the dealer busts with 22. But because he's basically an employee of the casinos, even if not in his own mind, in actual fact, he is working for the casino business. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there at all. He will promote, in spite of his own experience, he will promote those shitty corruptions of good old-fashioned traditional blackjack. And that's the kind of thing that I find really distasteful and disappointing about these people. But for them, it's just business. And this is a point that I want to get across about what we're doing here. It's a business. It is not fun. It is not excitement. It's not rest and relaxation. It's not thrills. It's business. And so we have to take it very seriously. We have to know, understand, respect the numbers, know what to do to exploit patterns, which is what we're about. That's why it's called pattern betting. It had other names that were also relevant, turnaround and target, both of which stand as good names for the strategy. But when I brought it to YouTube about 2 years ago, I thought, well, pattern betting, which was a name that I wanted to use in the very beginning, but couldn't, because at that time there was a guy called Jerry something or other who was selling a cockamamie blackjack strategy that he called pattern betting, which had no resemblance to what I was doing, but he had sort of like cornered the name. I doubt that he'd patented it, but it was there. So I had to use another name. I think I started out with turnaround, and then switched to target. And target is the name that existed until pattern betting came in when I switched up to YouTube. And I've kept the blog going, so it's out there for anybody who wants to look for it. It's targetbetting.blogspot. Blogspot? Yes, blogspot.com. I must go and check that out, actually. Hang about. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's targetbetting.blogspot.com. I think I got that right the first time. It looks a bit like this. And the guy that I was talking about, the guy who had this strategy called pattern betting back in the day, because I launched this around 2000 2010, thereabouts. Jerry Patterson. And I don't know if he's still around. I don't know if pattern betting still exists, but tough tits, mate, because now I'm using it. So that's how it's going to stay. But anyway, excuse me. I'm rambling on a bit here, now exacerbating. I've still got a slight tinge of whatever the hell it was, that bug that I had that knocked me out for over 2 weeks. But the main story that I want to get across to you is just look at the facts here. 103 shoes, more losses than wins, AV negative minus 2.4%, indicating a loss, if you multiply that by the total action, of 53,300, instead of which we won or pattern betting won. And that's a we, because I'm pattern betting and pattern betting is me. So anyway, we won 258,000. And no magic, no cheating, no farting around, no fucking about, no nothing other than simple facts. And all of these sessions that are indicated here are on record. I always use the screen recorder when I play baccarat or, come to that, blackjack. The big thing being that Baccarat Win Pro records everything itself. So not sort of visually and graphically and all the rest of it, but all the facts are there. So that when I lose, it's there and it can't be erased. When I win, it's there and it can't be erased. Truth, truth, truth. Verifiable, factual facts, which I know are out of fashion right now, especially in America. But, you know, here in other parts of the world, we still believe in truth and honesty and integrity and decency and stuff like that. So I'm not a cheat. I'm not a lunatic either, but there are people out there who still pretend that I am. All the way down to the bottom then, the last 4 shoes, they're not the final 4 shoes because I'm bound to continue doing this, even if I pretend I'm not. But we had an AV of minus 12.8% against us, should have lost 11,000, instead of which we won 8,900, which was plus 10.3% of our total action. So, you know, good going. This is what you have to do. And please don't imagine it's possible for you to beat these games without blind luck behind you if you have a small bankroll. Can't be done. Cannot be done. But of course, if you're like the Vegas Mats and the Steve Will Do It's and the other folks, the crazy Codys in this world, you make your money back from Google, from the Moogle cash cow. So, you know, you can't do that. I can't do that. So what we have to do is put our thinking caps on and treat this as a business. That's it for now. Bye-bye.